What's going on, guys? In this video we are going to be rebuilding a trailer. Yeah, I said it, we're building a trailer. If you're into that kind of thing, stick around. Let's see how it turns out. Alright guys, so welcome to the channel. Subs, thank you for coming back and dealing with our madness. And for those of you that are new to the channel, well, this is the kind of madness we do. We're always doing some kind of crazy build, or it's going to be something based on how to repair something. So in today's videos, I already shared with you, today we're going to rebuild this, well, this enclosed trailer. So it needs some work. I wasn't going to make a video on this initially, and then I thought, you know what, there's probably somebody out there that needs to see this, that wants this, or whatever. So for the crazy ones that are watching right now, that is probably you. Stick in tune. We are going to see exactly what we can do to make this thing ride as smooth as it can. I guess it can't really run, but you know what I mean. Let me do a walk around real quick. All right, so a quick walk around on this thing. You can see that it's a little rough. This was actually owned by a guy that was a painter. I don't know if he dealt with Harleys or not, but nonetheless, he beat the life out of this thing. I mean, this thing was full of about a half-inch thick of paint on the floor, the whole outside. I got a lot of it off, but there was paint sprayed all over this thing. So there's a lot of work to do. As you can see, there's a big dent right here. It has to be replaced. We obviously have a fender that needs replaced. The wheels are pretty rough. They're obviously not the originals because they don't match. I assume those are just replacements, but they're dry rotted as well. And speaking about wheels, we actually need a replacement wheel as well because we don't have any spares. So we'll talk about what we're going to do with that. On the back here, it's essentially barn door style, and as you can see, this is full of paint. That was me taking alcohol and trying to get it off and realizing that this thing just needs to be painted. There's gonna be no saving the outsides of it. So this is pretty much it. It is a 10-foot, I think 5x10 trailer, so it's pretty decent sized. We got our work cut out for us on this one, so I don't think it's gonna be nothing crazy, but it's gonna need some paint and it's gonna be a little bit of work. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so getting into it, one thing you're going to notice is that it's a lot greener now. That's because it's a year after, because this kind of got put on the back burner because I didn't really care about it. I had too much stuff going on, and now I'm getting back into it. That said, it's time to start getting ready for paint. Now, obviously, to get ready for paint, there's a lot of things we have to do to prepare this thing. One of the things I have to do is I have a lot of diamond plate that's going to be going down the side here and replacing the front and covering all this damage that you see right here. So I have to take all these rivets out. So I'm going to be doing that, and then taking all the rivets probably from here down the sides. And then there's a little bit more prep to do, obviously. Again, I want to keep this patina here. I got to do a little bit of sanding, but I like that. So that's going to stay. But everything else is going to get painted black. So getting into it, like I just said, what I'm going to be doing is taking out all these rivets. I'll start that now, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, well, a little to my surprise, these aren't rivets. These are actually some kind of strange self-tappers that are 8-point, which is ridiculous. So I outsmarted them because that's probably some proprietary thing with a square bit. So take that. Alright, so I got all the self-tapping screws out. Now what I have to do is take out all the lights and reflectors to make this thing clean. Now I plan on painting the fenders, because obviously they wouldn't match being a silver, and there won't be any silver on the actual trailer itself. So I'm just going to spray those black, and I'm going to leave them on while I spray them. However, they're going to have to come off when I go ahead and put the diamond plate down the sides right here. So let me go ahead and pull off the lights. We'll start getting this thing prepped and actually sanding to get ready for paint. Okay, so all the lights and stickers and whatever else are off it that need to come off. And you can really see how chintzy they make these trailers. And I don't know, maybe they make them better nowadays. I don't know how old this one is. But you can just tell, and granted the wood's going bad, but they're just built pretty cheap. Granted it's a trailer, but I'd like to think that some of the better ones would be a little better built than this. Nonetheless, it's time to move forward. Like I said, I'm going to start sanding right now. And I do want to reiterate to you guys, I'm not trying to make this thing look brand new or perfect. I just want it to look better than it does. That's it. Real simple. So I think we're going to accomplish that, but I got to stop talking. I got to get into it. It's time to sand. All right, as you can see, it is lightly sanded now. Nothing crazy, just a nice light sand to get hopefully some paint to stick. I'm going to go ahead and hit this thing with a pressure washer and let it dry before we start painting it. All right, guys, so I got ahead of myself a little bit, nothing crazy. I bought a new gun, just a cheapo off Amazon. I just bought this because I wanted to kind of use it as a primer gun. The gun's actually a total piece of crap, so I wouldn't suggest buying it unless you use the ends. And the reason I bought this, it comes with a 1.4 tip, a 1.7, and a 2.4. So for primer or really thick paints, like filler primers, it's actually a pretty good gun for it. It sprayed it halfway decent, I'm surprised. But just for the 3 tips and the regulator alone, which seems to be somewhat accurate, it was definitely worth like the 30 bucks that I paid for it. I went ahead and got a little ahead of myself, and well, I sprayed a little bit up here. No, I got a little ahead of myself. I was just spraying areas that I wasn't going to be painting anyways, because that's where the diamond plate covers. And then I decided, you know what, I'll make use of this thing having some primer in it. I'm going to go ahead and spray the bare metal. So I sprayed the fenders, and then I sprayed up above on the bare aluminum that's up at the top here. And then kind of on the back door as well. If you see me come around here, I got a lot of the bare metal that was on the locks and stuff. So tomorrow, when this thing's fully dry, because I just sprayed it off, I'll go ahead and make sure that it's good to go and it's wiped down, so when our actual paint goes down, we'll have a little bit better chance of getting a decent job. But like I said, the gun did a decent job of testing out its primer abilities. So let's move forward. All right, so it is taped off. It's ready to officially be primered right now. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna spray that on, let it dry before we get to our actual paint. All right, guys, so there you see it in the primer itself. Overall, it's smooth and pretty good. It's funny because after priming, you can kind of see all the little dings and stuff you got in it, but it's not a perfect trailer. Again, I don't expect it to be. We're just making it look better than it did. Primer's finally dry. It's time to spray the base coat / clear. Now, this is the paint I'm going with, and no, it's not peppercini. It's actually a custom paint that I made up myself, a metallic black. I just happened to use this to mix it up and so I could shake it because it was in a gallon container, so I wanted a little bit smaller amount. But it's basically essentially an all-in-one black with a clear base built in, and I don't know, we'll see how it turns out. Alright guys, so the black is sprayed, it is also the clear. Again, it's an all-in-one, and actually this is a pretty crappy paint. Most of the paints I'll get from Summit Racing. This particular one was a gallon, all-in-one acrylic urethane. And actually, we bought this paint when we did the stand-up jet ski project, and it was just crappy paint. I only used it as a base coat for the pearl on that ski, and I knew then it was sucked. I've tried to get a lot of chances, and it just sucked. So that's kind of why I decided to use it on this particular build. But I had probably a half a gallon, which wasn't enough to get 2 coats. So I got 1, and you can kind of see it's just because the actual original metal is a little bit textured. But it's not perfect, but it's not bad at all. And then I went ahead and sprayed this wheel. Now, I'm not keeping these wheels. We have brand new wheels and tires, but you can see the difference with a second coat and what it makes. It's a lot smoother. But overall, it came out pretty darn good. If you kind of take a look at it here, I got to take off the tape, obviously, for the Harley Davidson badges. But overall, it turned out pretty darn good. So what we're going to do right now, again, yeah, I'm going to peel off that tape, but that's not really a big deal. We need to get into taking off these fenders and wheels because we got a lot of diamond plate to put on this thing to make it much better looking. Alright guys, so the tape is off and the patina decals are finally showing through, and man am I glad that I kept those, because I tell you what, I think personally it really makes the trailer pop. But moving forward, like I said, this fender has to come off so we can get the diamond plate across the bottom of this thing. And the reason the fender has to come off is because the diamond plate goes behind it, and the wheel has to come off to get the fender off. And the reason for that is you can see all the tapcons or self-tapping nuts or bolts or whatever they are, screws, are all along the inside of this fender well. And to get this off, I've got to get this wheel out of the way so I can get to them. Okay, so the wheel and fender is now off. It's time to put on our diamond plate. What you'll notice I've done is I've drilled 3 holes. There's one that is right there, one that is like right there, and one that is down here right there. And the reason I did that, that's going to be for the wires for the lighting to come through. Now, also, you guys probably know this, but you're going to have to re-drill all these holes if you're doing the same thing to get your bolts back in, or your self-tapping nuts, or screws, or whatever they're called. The problem with this is that you're more than likely not going to hit those exact same holes. So if you try to hit those exact same holes, you're just going to end up getting frustrated and annoyed because it's going to start moving the thing, and because it's going to be off just the smallest amount. So what I've chosen to do, I'm going to lower about a ½ inch on every one of those bolts from what they were, or these screws, and that should make me clear in the long run to get my new self-tappers in. Finally, the diamond plate is now on this side, and I will tell you what, sometimes it is a pain in the butt, and there's a few that were kind of at an angle. If you see like this one here, there's probably 5 or 6 of them. The reason that is, I think, is because the bars that this screws into are kind of like a U shape and not really flat. And so once it hits that U, it kind of wants to go one way or another. I even tried taking a drill and drilling it first, even though I was using self-tappers. Still about 5 or 6 of them that wouldn't go straight, but it's on nonetheless. I'm happy with that. So it's time to throw in the fender. I'm going to get the rest of the diamond plate on it, and then I will show you exactly what it looks like. Alright guys, so it's time to move forward. I went ahead and ordered something kind of nice for the trailer. Now earlier you heard obviously that it needed new wheels and tires. You can see that the tires are starting to dry rot. Plus they're ugly, and again, they don't match the vehicle. They can't be originals. However, remember I said that we do need spares, so we're going to use those as spares. We'll get into mounting those later on. But for now, I want to go ahead and move forward and show you what we got. Opening up the box to our custom wheels. unpackage these things. Check them things out. Pretty slick concave split 5-star. It's a 15 by 5.5, I believe. And these things are only like 80 bucks a piece. That's a crazy good deal for a nice aluminum wheel like that. If you guys are interested in putting something like this on your trailer, I will go ahead and put a link in the description below. You guys can click on those and order those if you like. In addition to, we got some trailer tires here. There's a 205 75/15, so it's a replacement that was already on it. They have a nice deep bias tread. Definitely a nice tire, and these were fairly inexpensive as well. And again, I will put a link for those in the description below. However, it's time to move forward, and we're going to use our custom-made tire mounting machine to get all these things put together. Let's do it. Alright guys, both wheels are mounted, balanced, and ready to be put on the trailer. Let's move forward. Alright guys, so there is the fender on now and our brand new custom wheel and tire. Now, I'm a little upset about the tire because it's a little bit more narrow than it showed in the picture. It is a bias tire, which means it's more of a trailer tire than a car tire. The really main difference is it holds a little bit more weight, however it can't go as fast, but it's a trailer, so we're not really going fast. But the only other thing I'm kind of a little upset about is my custom black acorns don't fit on it. I had to use the original lugs, which, whatever, not bad. It looks pretty good. I was going to wait to the very end to kind of have it as the finale or the finale part being put on. The problem is it's super windy right now, and I don't want to have this thing on jack stands being a big box and have it blow off. So for safety purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and show you this now. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this diamond plate on, and then I'll show you guys what we do next. Alright, so the diamond plate is finally on, and I'm going to tell you, it took about 3.5 hours. It's super trying. My hands are killing me. They are red and shaped like the impact I was pressing them on with, so a lot of work. Very, very tough once you get around the rounded edges. Obviously, I don't have a press to bend those things, and so essentially what I did was I took a 4-inch PVC and rolled it a little bit, bent it, rolled it, bent it, and I got it pretty close. At the very end, I had to do a little bit of cutting to try to fill in that void where it kind of slides in. Not perfect. There was a little bit of damage at the bottom already, so it was a little bit trying, but I got it done. I'm out of breath. And as you can see, that's obviously where we're going to be putting the spare tire, but we're not quite done with the diamond plate yet, because what we got to do is seal along all the edges that you see right there, and we'll be using this black silicone right here. Alright guys, so there we go. It's looking good right now. Now yes, there's some overlap of the silicone I just put on. The reason I don't wipe that off is because if I do, it becomes really difficult to get the thin stuff like that off. So I let it go ahead and dry, and then I can peel it right off here the next day. So that's why it's like that. If you look right here, most of that dent's out. I've got a little bit showing, but that's okay. The only way to really get that out is take all the paneling inside out and then push it outwards. So right now I think it's pretty good. We're going to let it sit overnight, and then we're going to come back out tomorrow. We're going to get all the lights on this thing to get this thing completed. Alright guys, and so moving forward to the final part of the build will be lighting. Now I went ahead and purchased all LED lights for the unit, and hopefully it'll give it a nice modern look. As you'll see right here, we have the 2 rear tail lights, and then obviously assortment of red, orange, and clear lights, which will be our running lights. We'll have 5 orange in the front, 5 red in the back, and then maybe a couple here on the side. I don't know what I'll use the clear for just yet, but it came in a packet, so not a big deal. Anyhow, right now I'm going to go throw all that stuff on, and we'll see if we can get ready for a final montage of this build. Alright guys, the lights are finally installed, front, back, and side, and I think they look incredible. Definitely makes the trailer look much newer than it is, and I think it's definitely the final touch to what we need to get this thing looking good. That said, it's time to move forward and get into that montage we talked about. Alright guys, so that is a wrap for this video. I want to remind you, if you guys like the video, definitely hit that thumbs up, but most importantly, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button if you guys want to see the newest videos coming out. Now, for those of you who've been asking about bike videos, we got something new coming up you guys are going to want to check out, like next week. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy Halloween.